For 5 years, Lady Evelina Marlowe sat alone at every royal ball, not because she was ugly, not because she was poor, but because one cruel rumor had buried her name so deeply that even music seemed ashamed to reach her. Tonight, beneath the golden chandeliers of Ravenhurst Palace, she sat again beside the marble pillar, hands folded in her lap, watching other ladies dance, laugh, and receive flowers. Then the Duke of Ashbourne crossed the ballroom. He stopped before her, and in a voice low enough to feel like a secret, he whispered, "Every dance tonight is mine." The music faltered in Evelina's ears. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. Around them, silk gowns rustled. Gentlemen turned their heads. Mothers lifted their fans. Young ladies who had mocked her only minutes earlier stared as if the Duke had just broken the law, because no one invited Lady Evelina Marlowe to dance. No one touched her hand. No one spoke her name unless it was covered in pity. And yet Duke Adrian Blackthorne, the most powerful unmarried nobleman in the kingdom, was standing before her with his gloved hand offered like a promise. Evelina looked up at him. "Your Grace," she whispered, "you must be mistaken." His dark eyes did not move away from hers. "I have made many mistakes in my life, Lady Evelina," he said softly. "This is not one of them." A quiet shock passed through the ballroom. Evelina's heart beat hard. 5 years ago, she had been the brightest girl in Westmere society. Her father, Lord Marlowe, had once been the king's most trusted advisor. Her mother had hosted music evenings where princes, generals, and duchesses filled their halls. Evelina had been expected to marry well, perhaps even into a royal family. Then, on the night of her 18th birthday, everything changed. A secret letter appeared in the palace library. It claimed Evelina had betrayed a prince. It claimed she had passed private information to a foreign court. It claimed she was not the daughter of Lord Marlowe at all. By morning, her father was dead from shock, her mother was broken, and Evelina's name was stained forever. No proof was ever shown. No trial was held. But in noble society, rumor could be sharper than a sword. Since then, every ball had become a punishment. She was invited only because old blood could not be ignored. She was seated, served, watched, and avoided. 5 years alone. 5 years of whispers. 5 years of pretending. Her heart had not slowly cracked, and now the Duke of Ashbourne wanted to dance with her. Evelina glanced across the ballroom and saw Duchess Helena Blackthorne, Adrian's aunt, watching them with a face as cold as winter stone. Beside the Duchess stood Princess Seraphina, dressed in silver, her smile frozen. Everyone in the kingdom knew she was expected to marry the Duke. That was the first twist of the night. Adrian was not merely asking Evelina to dance. He was publicly refusing a princess. "Your Grace," Evelina said, her voice trembling. "People will talk." "They have talked for 5 years," Adrian replied. "Tonight let them watch." She should have refused every lesson. Every wound, every careful wall inside her told her to stay seated, but his hand remained there. Steady, patient, almost familiar. Evelina placed her fingers in his. The ballroom gasped. Adrian helped her rise, as if she were a queen returning to a throne. The orchestra hesitated, then began a slow waltz. When he guided her to the center of the floor, the crowd parted without command. Evelina felt every eye on her. She expected mockery. She expected laughter. But when Adrian placed one hand at her waist, he leaned close and said, "Do not look at them. Look at me." She obeyed. The first step was shaky. The second was steadier. By the third, something inside her remembered who she had been before shame became her shadow. "You dance well," Adrian said. "I used to," she answered. "You still do." A sad smile touched her lips. "You speak kindly for a man who has never spoken to me before." His expression changed for the briefest moment. "I spoke to you once." Evelina almost missed a step. "When?" 5 years ago, he said. "In the palace garden. You were crying beside the fountain." Her heart stopped. That night had been her worst memory. After the letter appeared, after the accusations began, she had run into the garden alone. A young man had found her there. She had never seen his face clearly. He had given her his cloak and said, One day truth returns. She had kept that sentence hidden in her heart for years. That was you? She whispered. Adrian's eyes softened. I wanted to help you then. I was sent away before sunrise. Sent away by whom? Before he could answer, the music ended. Applause did not come, only silence. Then Princess Serafina stepped forward. Her silver gown shimmered like moonlight, but her eyes were sharp. Duke Ashbourne, she said sweetly. Surely you will not waste the whole evening on one dance. Adrian did not release Evelina's hand. I do not waste what I choose, he said. A few people lowered their eyes. The insult was gentle, but everyone understood it. Princess Serafina's smile tightened. Duchess Helena moved forward next. She was tall, elegant, and terrifying in black velvet. Nephew, she said, a word. Adrian bowed slightly. After the next dance, and the one after that, the ballroom stirred again. Evelina pulled her hand back. Please, she whispered. You do not know what you are doing. Adrian's voice dropped. I know exactly what I am doing. No, you do not know what they said about me. I know every word. The answer struck her harder than an insult. Evelina stepped back. Then why? Adrian looked at her as if the question hurt him, because one of those words was written by my family. Before Evelina could speak, a servant in royal blue livery appeared at her side with a silver tray. Lady Evelina Marlowe, he said quietly, a message for you. Her blood turned cold. No one sent her letters at balls, not anymore. A folded note lay on the tray, sealed with dark red wax. The mark pressed into it was a raven holding a crown. The royal secret seal. Evelina's fingers trembled. As she took it, Adrian's face darkened when he saw the seal. Do not open it. Here, he said. But Princess Serafina's voice cut across them. Oh, let her read it. Perhaps it is another confession. Cruel laughter flickered around the room. Evelina wanted to disappear, but something in Adrian's eyes gave her courage. She broke the seal. Only one line was written inside. The girl who sat alone knows where the dead prince's letter is hidden. The room tilted. Dead prince? There had been no dead prince in her scandal, at least none that anyone had ever told her about. Adrian took the note from her hand and read it. His jaw tightened. Who gave you this? He demanded of the servant. The servant's face went pale. A masked gentleman near the west doors, Your Grace. Adrian turned, but the west doors were already closing. A tall figure in a dark cloak vanished into the corridor. Without thinking, Evelina moved after him. Adrian caught her wrist gently. No. That letter is about me. It is a trap. Then I have been living inside one for 5 years. Her words silenced him. For the first time all evening, Adrian looked uncertain, then he said, Stay close to me. Together they crossed the ballroom, leaving behind whispers sharp enough to cut. Duchess Helena called his name, but he ignored her. Princess Serafina watched with hatred hidden behind perfect manners. The corridor outside was colder. Torches burned along stone walls. The sounds of music faded behind them. Evelina lifted her skirt and hurried. Who is the dead prince? Adrian did not answer. She stopped. You know. His silence told her enough. Tell me. He looked down the corridor, then back at her. Prince Lucian, Evelina's breath caught. Prince Lucian had been the king's younger brother. 5 years ago, society had been told he left for a monastery after a private disgrace. He is dead? She whispered. Yes. When? Adrian's voice was quiet. The same night your name was ruined. The second twist struck her like thunder. Her scandal had not destroyed only her life. It had hidden a death. Before she could ask more, a soft sound came from the end of the corridor, a door closing. Adrian moved first, but Evelina followed. They reached a narrow passage used by servants. At the end, a staircase spiraled downward into darkness. This leads below the palace, Adrian said. No guest should know this way. Then the masked man was not a guest. They descended. The air changed. It smelled of dust, candle smoke, and old stone. At the bottom was a small archive room filled with locked cabinets and forgotten portraits. One candle burned on a table. Beside it lay another envelope. This one had Evelina's name written in a hand she knew instantly. Her father's handwriting. She covered her mouth. My father is dead. Adrian stood very still. Open it. Inside was a letter, yellowed at the edges. My beloved Evelina, if this reaches you, then the truth has begun to move at last. Forgive me. I kept a secret to protect you, but silence became a prison. You are my daughter in every way that matters, but not by blood. Your true mother was Lady Amara of Ashbourne. Evelina stared at the words Ashbourne. Her eyes lifted slowly to Adrian. His face had gone pale. Lady Amara of Ashbourne was his father's sister. That meant Evelina was connected to the Duke's own bloodline, a hidden identity, family secret. And perhaps the real reason his family had watched her with fear. My mother never told me, Evelina whispered. Maybe she did not know, Adrian said, but his voice sounded strained. She read further. Your birth was hidden because Lady Amara loved a man she was forbidden to marry. Their union could have shaken the kingdom. Prince Lucian knew the truth. He promised to protect you. That is why they silenced him. The room seemed to close around her. Evelina gripped the table. So Prince Lucian died because of me? No, Adrian said firmly. Because of the archive exploded into chaos. Steel clashed against steel. Broken glass scattered across the stone floor as masked soldiers rushed through the shattered windows. Their black cloaks hid their faces, and each carried the same silver raven crest Evelina had seen on the mysterious letters. Someone wanted every witness dead. Adrian tightened his grip around Evelina's hand. Stay behind me. I won't leave you, she answered. Prince Lucian stepped forward with surprising speed despite his years in hiding. His cane struck the stone floor with a loud crack. This way, he shouted. A hidden door swung open behind an ancient bookshelf. Adrian pushed Evelina toward it. Go! But you. I'll follow. One soldier lunged. Adrian drew his sword just in time. The clash echoed through the underground chamber. Prince Lucian grabbed an old lantern from the wall and hurried into the narrow passage. Evelina followed, but after only a few steps, she looked back. Adrian was fighting 3 men alone. For a terrifying moment, their eyes met. Then the hidden door slammed shut. Everything became silent except for distant footsteps. The passage was cold and narrow. Only the lantern's golden light guided them. Evelina's breathing became uneven. He's still back there. Lucian looked ahead. He knows these tunnels better than any man alive. You trust him that much? I trust him with my life. Those words surprised her. For years she had believed Duke Adrian Blackthorne was simply another powerful noble. Now she realized there was far more beneath his calm appearance. After several minutes, the tunnel opened into a forgotten underground chapel. Dust covered the wooden pews. Ancient stained glass windows had long since been sealed with stone. A faded statue of a queen stood beside an old altar. Prince Lucian gently placed the lantern on the altar. We're safe for now. Evelina looked around. This place. It belonged to the first royal family, Lucian said quietly. Why bring me here? He smiled sadly. Because this is where your true story began. Before Evelina could ask another question, footsteps echoed from another corridor. She instinctively stepped backward. Then Adrian appeared. His coat was torn. A small cut crossed his forehead. His sword carried fresh scratches. But he was alive. Without thinking, Evelina rushed toward him. You came back. He smiled for the first time that evening. I promised. Only then did they both realize how close they were standing. Neither moved. Neither spoke. For several quiet seconds, the old chapel seemed to disappear. Prince Lucian politely turned away. At last, Adrian stepped back. We don't have much time. Lucian unfolded the old letter again. There is something both of you must understand. He placed the fragile paper on the altar. 5 years ago, your father, Lord Marlowe, discovered that someone inside the royal court planned to seize the throne. Evelina listened carefully. It wasn't only about money or power. It was about blood. Adrian crossed his arms. The hidden bloodline. Lucian nodded. Exactly. He pointed toward Evelina. Your mother, Lady Amara, was secretly married before anyone knew. Evelina stared. Married? Yes. But everyone believed she died unmarried. They were meant to.
Lucian sighed. The marriage was erased from every royal record. Why? Because the man she married belonged to a family considered politically dangerous. Silence filled the chapel. Adrian looked thoughtful. So Evelina was hidden because her existence threatened someone's future.
Lucian nodded again. Very much so. Another twist waited. Lucian reached beneath the altar. Hidden inside was a small wooden chest. Its lock had not been opened for years. He handed the key to Evelina. This belongs to you. My father never told me. He couldn't. Her hands trembled as she unlocked it. Inside rested three things: a faded blue ribbon, a silver ring engraved with an unfamiliar crest, and another sealed letter. This seal carried not a raven, but a crown surrounded by lilies. Lucian smiled softly. The personal seal of Queen Eleanor. Evelina looked shocked. The Queen herself? She wrote that letter. Before opening it, Evelina hesitated. What if everything changes again? Adrian gently answered, It already has. She slowly broke the seal. The handwriting was elegant. If this letter reaches my granddaughter, then heaven has granted what I prayed for. Evelina stopped reading. My granddaughter? Tears filled her eyes. Lucian nodded. Queen Eleanor was your grandmother. The world seemed to stop. She had believed herself to be nothing more than a disgraced noblewoman. Now she learned she carried royal blood. Adrian remained silent. Not because he was surprised, but because he had suspected the truth for years. Did you know? Evelina asked quietly. He lowered his eyes. I suspected. You never told me. I had no proof. She looked hurt. You still should have trusted me. I wanted to protect you. Keeping secrets isn't protection. Her words struck him harder than any sword. For the first time, the Duke seemed unable to answer. Lucian gently interrupted. This isn't the time to fight. He unfolded a rough map. The people hunting us will search the palace first. Adrian studied it. They'll seal every gate. Exactly. So where do we go? Lucian pointed toward a distant mountain. Greyhaven Castle. Adrian immediately understood. The abandoned fortress. It isn't abandoned. Evelina looked confused. It has been empty for decades. Lucian smiled. That's exactly what everyone believes. Above them, the palace bells continued ringing. The kingdom was changing. False announcements would already be spreading. Servants would be whispering. Guests would be leaving in fear. Somewhere above, Duchess Helena was likely telling everyone that Evelina had fled because she was guilty. The trap had begun. The three quietly left the underground chapel through another hidden tunnel. Hours passed. Just before sunrise, they emerged inside an old forest behind the palace grounds. Morning mist covered everything. Birds had only begun to sing. For the first time in years, Evelina breathed air that did not smell of fear. Adrian offered her his cloak. She accepted. You always carry one extra? She asked with a faint smile. His own smile appeared. No. Then you'll be cold. I've survived worse. Their eyes met again. The silence between them felt different now. Warmer, gentler. Prince Lucian noticed but wisely continued walking ahead. Several miles later they reached a quiet village. Smoke rose from cottage chimneys. Children chased chickens through muddy streets. Nobody recognized them beneath their traveling cloaks. An elderly innkeeper welcomed them kindly. You've traveled through the night. Lucian bowed. We need breakfast and 3 horses. The old man smiled. I can manage both. Inside the small dining room, Evelina finally relaxed. Fresh bread, warm soup, simple tea. After years of formal dinners filled with judging eyes, this ordinary meal felt precious. Adrian watched her quietly. You smile differently. She looked surprised. I smile at all? Today you did. She lowered her eyes. I almost forgot how. Neither realized the innkeeper was listening. The old man smiled to himself.
They looked like two people destiny refused to separate. Neither Adrian nor Evelina answered, but neither denied it. Outside, rain slowly began to fall. A young stable boy hurried toward the inn. "Sir," the innkeeper stepped outside. Moments later, he returned looking worried. He handed Adrian a folded newspaper printed only hours earlier. Across the front page stood enormous words: Royal Decree Lady Evelina Marlowe, accused of treason. A reward was offered for anyone providing information leading to her capture. Adrian quietly folded the paper before Evelina could finish reading. Too late. She already had. "So it begins." "No," Adrian answered firmly. "It ends." She looked at him. "You still believe my name can be restored?" "I don't believe." "I know." Before anyone could say another word, the inn's front door burst open. Royal soldiers entered. Rainwater dripped from their armor. Their captain held another paper. "We are searching for 3 fugitives." Every guest froze. The captain slowly looked around the room. Then his eyes stopped. Directly on Adrian, recognition flashed across his face. He slowly smiled. "Your Grace." The soldiers reached for their swords. Adrian quietly stood. Evelina felt her heartbeat race once again. The peaceful morning had lasted only minutes, and now escape seemed impossible. The captain's hand rested on the hilt of his sword. Rain beat steadily against the windows of the quiet village inn. Every guest stopped, eating. No one dared to. "Breathe, Your Grace," the captain repeated, his voice calm but dangerous. "The crown requests that you step away from the woman." Adrian stood between Evelina and the soldiers. "I serve the crown," he replied. "Not lies." The captain unfolded the royal decree. "Lady Evelina Marlowe is accused of treason. Anyone aiding her shares her crime." Prince Lucian quietly lowered his hood. "You should read every royal order before obeying it." The captain frowned. "And who are you?" Lucian removed the ring bearing the royal crest and held it toward the light. The room fell, silent. One elderly soldier suddenly dropped to one knee. "I know that ring." The captain looked closer. His face turned pale. "Prince Lucian," the innkeeper gasped. "It cannot be." Lucian smiled gently. "It can." The soldiers looked at one another in confusion. For 5 years the kingdom had believed Prince Lucian was dead. Now he stood before them. The captain slowly lowered his sword. "My prince, we were told." "I know what you were told," Lucian answered. "You were lied to." Within minutes the captain ordered his soldiers to lower their weapons. "I have served the royal family for 20 years, he said. "If your highness lives, then something terrible has happened." Lucian nodded. "It has." Adrian placed the hidden letters on the table. "The truth is here." The captain carefully examined Queen Eleanor's letter, Lord Marlowe's confession, and the secret seal. Each document supported the next. His expression changed from doubt to determination. "I believe you." It was the first official voice that had believed Evelina in 5 long years. Tears quietly filled her eyes. She whispered, "Thank you." The captain bowed respectfully. "My lady, forgive us." There was little time to celebrate. One of the soldiers rushed inside. "More riders are coming." Through the rain they could see dozens of royal horsemen approaching. Their banners carried the Black Raven, not the King's Lion, Prince. Lucian's face hardened. Helena has begun moving before the king learns the truth. Adrian turned to the captain. "Can you delay them?" The captain smiled. "I can do better." He handed Adrian his own royal escort badge. "Take the eastern road to Greyhaven Castle. And you?" "I'll convince them they chased the wrong travelers." Adrian shook his hand. "You risk everything." The captain answered simply, "Truth is worth risking everything." By sunset the group reached Greyhaven Castle. The old fortress stood on a rocky hill overlooking a silver lake. Although everyone believed it abandoned, smoke rose from one chimney. Heavy wooden doors slowly opened. An elderly woman stepped outside. She wore simple clothing, but her posture was unmistakably noble. She looked directly at Lucian. "My prince, you've kept your promise, Martha, for 27 years.
She welcomed them inside. Greyhaven was alive, hidden families, loyal servants, retired knights, and scholars had secretly protected the castle for years. Each had once served Queen Eleanor. Each had remained faithful. Evelina looked around in amazement. So many people. They have waited, Martha said softly. They never stopped believing the truth would return. That evening everyone gathered in the great hall. Ancient maps covered the tables. Old records, marriage certificates, family trees, and sealed royal documents were carefully arranged. Lucian addressed the room. 5 years ago, Duchess Helena forged letters, destroyed records, and attempted my murder. He pointed toward Evelina. Lady Evelina became the perfect victim because her hidden heritage threatened Helena's plan. One elderly historian opened a leather-bound register. It is all here. Inside was the original marriage record. Lady Amara of Ashbourne, married to Lord Rowan Evermont. Witnessed by Queen Eleanor herself. Every seal was genuine. Every signature matched. The truth could finally be proven. Adrian quietly walked onto the castle balcony. Rain had finally stopped. Evelina followed him. For a long moment neither spoke. Finally she broke the silence. When you first asked me to dance, yes? Were you already planning all of this? He smiled. No, she looked surprised. I only planned one thing. What? He looked into her eyes. To make sure you were never alone. Again, a tear rolled gently down her cheek. You kept every dance. I intend to keep every tomorrow too. She laughed through her tears. You make impossible promises. I've always preferred impossible things. The next morning, Prince Lucian requested an emergency royal council. By law, the king could not refuse nobles from across the kingdom gathered inside the great hall of the palace. Duchess Helena arrived. Confidently, Princess Seraphina stood beside. Her both believed victory was already theirs. Then the great doors opened. Prince Lucian entered. The entire court rose in shock. The king himself stood frozen. Lucian, my brother. The two embraced after 5 painful years. Many nobles wiped away tears. Helena stepped backward. Her confidence disappeared. Lucian spoke calmly. I did not die. He presented the evidence: Queen Eleanor's letter, Lord Marlowe's confession, the marriage record, witness statements, the captain's testimony. One by one, every piece fit together. The hall remained silent. At last the king turned toward Helena. Do you deny these charges? She looked around desperately. No one answered her, no one defended her. Finally she whispered, I only wanted stability for the kingdom. Lucian answered, You wanted power. The king closed his eyes. You betrayed your family. Royal guards stepped forward, without violence, without humiliation. Duchess Helena surrendered peacefully. Princess. Seraphina lowered her head. I knew nothing, she said, quietly. Lucian believed her. She was allowed to leave with dignity, free from blame. Then came the moment Evelina had never imagined. The king descended from his throne. He stopped before her. My child, she bowed deeply. I failed you. He gently lifted her to her feet. No, Your Majesty. Yes, he looked before the entire court. 5 years ago, an innocent woman lost her name because I failed to seek the truth. He turned toward the gathered nobles. Today, before this kingdom, I restore Lady Evelina, Marlowe's honor. The hall erupted into applause. Some cried, others smiled. The whispers that had once condemned her were replaced by voices celebrating her courage. Weeks later, another royal ball was announced. This time no one expected Evelina to sit alone. The ballroom looked almost identical to the one where everything had changed. Golden, chandeliers, music, flowers, laughter. Only one thing was different. No empty chair stood beside the marble pillar. Instead, Evelina entered with confidence. Every noble bowed respectfully. No one looked away. Orchestra began to play. Adrian approached wearing a dark blue formal coat. He smiled exactly as he had on that unforgettable evening. My lady, she smiled back. Your Grace. He offered his hand. May I have this dance? She pretended to think. Only one? He laughed. I was hoping for every dance. She placed her hand in his. They're already yours. The ballroom applauded as they stepped onto the floor. This time no whispers followed them, only music, only joy. Several months later, Greyhaven Castle became a place of learning rather than secrecy. Young nobles were taught that honor required truth. Hidden records were preserved instead of destroyed. Prince Lucian devoted himself to restoring justice. The captain who had chosen truth over fear became commander of the royal guard. The loyal villagers were honored by the king. Lord Marlowe's name was officially cleared. A memorial was built in his memory. On a bright spring morning, the palace gardens bloomed with white roses. Friends, family, and the royal court gathered beneath ancient oak trees. Adrian and Evelina stood together before the king. Simple vows were exchanged. No grand speeches, no politics, only sincere promises. When the ceremony ended, Prince Lucian quietly handed Evelina one final envelope. What is this? The first letter I ever intended to send you. She opened it. Inside was only one sentence. Truth may arrive late, but when it does, it never comes alone. Evelina smiled. She folded the letter carefully and looked toward Adrian. 5 years of loneliness had ended with one whispered promise, a promise kept. And as the music filled the gardens once more, Adrian leaned close and softly repeated the words that had changed both their lives forever. Every dance tonight is mine. This time, Evelina laughed, and every tomorrow,